URC Power Rankings are back, folks, for the 2025-2026 season. We are 4 rounds into the competition now, which I think is enough time to get started with the Power Rankings. The Power Rankings are one of my favorites to do, if you're not familiar with them. They're kind of an alternative to the table itself, looking more at monitoring the form of the sides. That's the idea anyway, whether it does its job or not. I'll leave for you guys to say it. But the table, obviously, you get wins, you put points in the bank, and you're good to go. Whereas the power rankings, we are trying to put more weight on recent results compared to old ones, give more weight to games where you've gotten a win over a big team compared to a lowly ranked side, bigger margins, away wins, that kind of thing. Putting more weight on, losing at home, losing by a big margin, punishing that kind of thing more. But we'll go through them from bottom to top. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how fair or not the power rankings initially are. I should say, though, I've not given the teams a complete blank slate for this season. The teams who made the playoffs last year, I've given a little bit of a head start on the power rankings. Not huge, but from the teams like Leinster who finished top through to the teams who went out in the quarterfinals have kind of had a little bit of a head start. So that might have an effect on the power rankings, but not a heck of a lot. We'll start with the Scarlets, who were given, they were the bottom team to qualify for the playoffs last year, so I've given them an ever so slight head start, but it's not enough to keep them off the bottom spot in the power rankings after 4 rounds. They are none from 3. They're 1 game behind because of the couple of postponed games, but they've had a couple of losses at home, including one where they got nilled. They've had an away loss to the Lions recently. It's not been a fantastic start for the Scarlets. We can say that for sure. Likewise, the Dragons, they have had a draw, so it's not all losses like the Scarlets. They drew with the Sharks in a game which they probably should have gone for a droppy at the death to win the thing, but it wasn't a loss. Most recent loss to Cardiff at home will be one that burns because you feel like, the Welsh games at times, into Welsh games is sometimes a good chance to get a win, but not to be for them. The Sharks, talk about underperforming. John Plumtree's boys also winless. They do have that draw they got with the Dragons. To the Sharks' credit, they did lose some games to pretty good teams. They've lost to Leinster, they've lost to Glasgow, they've lost to Ulster. There's worse teams you could be losing to in terms of the kind of on-paper reputation. But, yeah, you wouldn't have been like to lose in that game at home to Ulster. Ulster didn't make the playoffs last year. The Sharks have got a stacked roster. It's a bit of a reversal of fortunes compared to last year. And then rounding out the bottom row, it's another one of the Welsh sides, the Ospreys, the only one of these 4 teams to have a win. It was over Zebre, so not like the traditionally biggest scalp, but it's a win. The other games they've lost, Bulls, Stormers, and Glasgow. Yeah, second half against Glasgow was pretty disappointing one at home, but that is your bottom row in the power rankings. 12th spot does go to Zebre, and this is maybe one of the examples of the power rankings being different from the table, because Zebre banked 2 wins at the start of the season, but then they've followed up with 2 losses. So on the power rankings, we were putting more weight on the recent results, less weight on the old. They're probably lower ranked than some teams who are higher than them on the table. Started cracking, 2 wins, followed by 2 losses. Most recent one to the Stormers at home. Yeah, they would have liked to do better. They only scored 1 try, and it was an intercept as well. But hey, 2 wins, better than all these jokers. What can we say so far? Apologies if jokers offends anybody. 11th spot is going to the Lions, who do only have the 1 win. 1 from 4, so a worse record than Zebre, but they did get their win more recently, and they did hold at home, which is pleasing. The Lions started on the road. Cardiff, Zebre, and Benetton. So not like the hardest of tours, again, reputation-wise, but all away losses, and then a home win against the Scarlets. So you could certainly argue for them and Zebre to be the other way around, and to be fair, on the score, there's very little between them, but the Lions having the win in the most recent round edges them in front. Then we got Connacht, who are another one of the teams who are a game behind with the postponed matches. Connacht have only had the 1 win, but their couple of losses have been close. They were very close to the Bulls. They outscored the Bulls in terms of tries. But yeah, 2 losing bonus point games for Connacht. even if that most recent one was at home. They certainly will take something out of that loss. They had a red card in that game as well, remember? And then Benetton, who are the ultimate kind of up and down team this year, they win at home, they lose away. They get hammered away by Edinburgh in their most recent game. But yeah, are they unpredictable or are they consistent? Because they're up and down, but the consistency thing seems to be winning at home, losing away thus far. Now we get into the top 8. Leinster would be lower if not for the fact that they won the URC last season, and I've carried over some of that for a bit of credit for them. But 1 from 4. Admittedly, their first 2 games, they field obviously a very weakened side down in South Africa. But Leinster's usually got massive depth, and they're still competitive even in those games. Like first game, they got nilled. They lost at home to Munster. I know it was Croke Park, so people are saying it's not like a proper home game. Still, it was in Dublin. Yeah, it's not been a cracking start for Leinster. Does that mean I think Leinster are like the 8th, 5th team in the URC? Obviously not. But have they had a great start to the season? No. So we'll see how they go in their next game. Edinburgh are somehow into 7th, probably on the back of a very big recent win. They're also a game behind everyone else. They started pretty poorly, but their most recent win over Benetton was emphatic. What was it, 43-0? So that's certainly a way to hopefully recapture some form. And as I said, they're one game behind. So there's one game where we kind of gave them a neutral mark for the game which was postponed, which they'll catch up on at some point later. Then we got Cardiff. So the highest of the Welsh sides. They are doing all right, man. 3 from 4. The scalps they've got, like they beat the Lions, Connacht, and the Dragons. So it's not just all Welsh teams that they've been beating. But again, they've not been beating teams who finished in the top 4 last year. Lions, Connacht, and Dragons, none of them made the playoffs last year. But still, you can only beat the teams who you play in front of you. So, yeah, doing the thing for the Welsh teams thus far are the Cardiff boys. And then we got the Bulls. The Bulls have got decent enough record so far, 3 from 4. They got a nice away win over Connacht. As I said, they got outscored by tries, but it's not tries that decide the result of the game. Keegan Johannes' drop goal in the end proved to be a difference maker for the Bulls. They bounced back after a disappointing loss the week before to Ulster. So, yeah, well, it's kind of promising times with the new coach. Then there's Ulster, who are looking genuinely very good. And as someone else pointed out, they're the only team thus far that's got maximum points. They are a game behind with the postponed matches, but 5 points from each of their games, 15 points from 3. Pretty good. Where was this Ulster team last year? Either way, they are playing some very, very fun rugby. Seeing them go down to South Africa and beat the Sharks, which was a pretty Springbok-laden side, even if people are saying they're old, people saying it's Plumtree, whatever it was. You got to give a lot of credit to those boys. They played really, really well. Then we got Glasgow in 3rd. Glasgow are another one of the 3 from 4 teams. They did have the one blip away loss to Benetton, but otherwise have been pretty good value. Big win away over the Ospreys. They also looked the business. So they've had a few personnel changes. Course of the season will be interesting. 1st and 2nd. Munster comes in 2nd with that win at Croke Park over Leinster. They are undefeated, 4 from 4. It's not always been convincing. Like, they're riding a real high after that Croke Park win. A couple of weeks before, it was less glamorous, but they were still wins, which is, I don't know, it's a good sign if you can get a win when you're not playing your best. That's usually the sign of a pretty good team. But early days, we're 4 games in, not counting any chickens yet, but promising signs for Munster. And then there was a hell of a performance to beat Leinster at Croke Park. Massive defensive shift. Jack Crowley pulling the strings. That does leave the Stormers as our top side for the first opening round of the power rankings after 4 rounds of the competition. 4 from 4, including some road wins, which is not always the easiest one to come by for the South African teams when touring. So that is one thing that is pretty encouraging. They've likewise got some big name talent in that side, but unlike the Sharks, they seem to be getting better value out of them thus far. So that's the first round of power rankings for the URC. We'll be doing this throughout the season, so let us know what your thoughts are Far from perfect, but I like to see how the kind of formula puts them in and spits them out. There are sometimes a few surprise packages, but we'll do this throughout the season and see how things change. You guys let us know your thoughts. Who do you think's undervalued? Who is maybe looking a bit too highly ranked? It's still early. We've got such little data that it's going to be probably a bit volatile initially, but fingers crossed it'll settle down a bit as the season goes on. But you guys let us know your thoughts. As I said, good to have the power rankings back. They're genuinely one of my favorites to do. If you enjoy them, subscribe to the channel. We've got more URC content coming your way, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.